anybody here feel like they really want to get away from it all? I mean, really get away. Well, if you do, you may want to consider the Norwegian island known as Spitsbergen. Anybody been to Spitsbergen? Probably not. It's a pretty big island as islands go. It's nearly 15,000 square miles. And there's no shortage of undeveloped real estate on Spitsbergen. And actually fewer than 3,000 people live there. Now one thing, it does get a bit chilly because Spitsbergen is just 800 miles from the North Pole, the same latitude as northern Greenland. Now, other than its splendid isolation, I guess Spitsbergen doesn't have a whole lot going for it, with one exception, one huge exception. It's home to one of the most secure storage facilities on this earth. Spitsbergen was chosen for this distinction because it's covered by permafrost and because it's seismically stable. There are no earthquakes or volcanoes or hurricanes. And of course, the storage facility is located high enough above sea level that it will never be flooded, not even if the polar ice cap melts. So you reach this storage facility deep inside a mountain by means of a 400-foot-long tunnel, which is dug through solid rock, and it's equipped with 2 airlocks. And it boasts a state-of-the-art security system and an elaborate climate and humidity control system as well. Now, the temperature there is maintained at a brisk 0 degrees year-round. Its super-hardened walls are 1 meter thick, and its blast-proof doors are designed to survive a nuclear war. Sounds like the lair of a James Bond supervillain, doesn't it? Well, it's not. So what do you suppose they store in that vault deep inside that mountain under all that permafrost? Any ideas? Who said that? You knew. How about it? You've been there. But you did know. You read all about it. You're all up on seeds. Well, good for you. And actually, the Norwegian government administers it. And it's funded by a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And that seed vault has one ambitious goal, and that is to preserve seed samples from every plant species on this earth. And you know what? They're well on their way to meeting their goal. So why am I bringing all this up about Spitsbergen and seeds? Well, did you hear our gospel this morning? What did Jesus talk about? He said, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, right? Seeds are really among the most remarkable features of God's creation, and they are well worth saving. You know, we take them for granted. Every plant, however, even California's mighty redwoods, thousands of years old, some of them eventually do die. And of course, seeds are the means by which plant life goes on. And seeds can survive for centuries. You know, some archaeologists actually discovered the truth of that when they dug up a 2,000-year-old date palm seed in the ruins of the ancient fortress of Masada in Israel. And they dug that seed up there and they planted it, and guess what? A palm tree actually sprouted and grew. It's a species of palm that hasn't been seen since biblical times. I bet you didn't know that, Howard. So, it's no wonder that when Jesus was spinning a parable about faith, that he chose a seed as its central image, the tiny mustard seed. And in effect, Jesus was saying to his listeners, if you want to know what faith is like, think of the tiniest seed you know, the mustard seed. Think of the plant that it grows into. You may think that your faith is but a tiny thing. But remember, your faith is also a growing thing, an evolving thing. Faith is not static. It grows and matures and adapts. At least it should be growing and maturing and adapting as we grow through the various stages of our lives. The faith we hold as children, in other words, is not the same as the faith that we hold when we're in our prime. At least I hope it isn't. And that faith, in turn, is not the same as the faith that illumines our twilight years. I hope that's true of me. Anyway, increased faith actually comes from increased living. And that's the second half of that gospel, where Jesus says, you know, why should I tell my servant to come in and sit down? He's here to serve me first. Well, increased faith actually comes from increased living, from giving more to life than is required. So in other words, if we have a get-by approach to life, then we'll probably have a get-by kind of faith. How could it be otherwise, right? Why should we have maximum faith for minimum living? Now what does this say to you, to me? Jesus, in effect, told the disciples that faith is not something that is handed out on a platter. The quality of our faith depends on the quality of our living. If we would have a great faith, we must go beyond the call of duty. We must be willing to give to life more than just the minimal requirements. In other words, people who spend all their lives at sea level do not need the kind of faith that is required to climb Mount Everest. In every area of life, the more that we expend ourselves, the more our confidence increases and the greater our faith becomes. So take a look for a moment at your own personal level of confidence in any area of your life. Where is your faith strongest? Is it not in that area where you have actually given most of yourself to? You know, if you have spent 20 years of your life in the kitchen, planning menus and preparing meals, then you can face that experience of life with unshakable faith, I would hope. You have been there, in other words. You know what is required, and you can handle it. And you're probably a great cook. The same is true of building a house, giving a homily, making a dress. The more we give of ourselves, the greater our faith in whatever endeavor we undertake becomes. And why should it be any different in the realm of the spiritual? All our experiences of God work that way. The more we give of ourselves, the stronger our faith becomes. Do you know who the people are who believe the most in the power of God? The people that worry the least about the necessities of life? Well, it's not necessarily the people with the most money. It's the people who are most involved in meeting the needs of our sisters and brothers. Sounds like the new evangelization, doesn't it? Sounds like Pope Francis saying to us, get out there and start smelling like the sheep. And you know something? The same is true about the power of God to heal a broken heart. The people who have the strongest faith in the comforting presence of God are going to be the people who are most involved in comforting the bereaved, in ministering to the sick. Would you like to have an unshakable faith in God and a confident faith in others? Well, then get involved in life. Go beyond the call of duty. Give more of yourself than the basic minimum. And you know something? If you do that, you will discover what Jesus told the apostles. Increased faith comes with increased living. Isn't that really what it's all about? Think about it.